Hello and welcome to Narayana IAS. My name is Abhijit Srivastav. We are here to discuss daily news analysis. Today is 9th March 2024 and let's have a quick overview on the topics that we are going to discuss here. First is from page number 8, The Hindu Delhi edition, which talks about India's suboptimal use of its labor power. So we have labor market, and as an economy we are not utilizing this labor market optimally, and because of which we are witnessing a lot of macroeconomic repercussions. So what are the issues, what will be the solution, or what could be the solution, we will be discussing here. Second article is from page number 8, Gender Equality as the Plank of Sustainable Development, in which we will be discussing two major things: how gender equality is related to sustainable development, and how gender, or specifically women, is linked with energy sector across the globe, right? Next is from page number 12, The Indian Express, and which is not a single article, rather combination of two articles. One is Change in the Valley and second is A Speech, a Question. This article is discussing the aftermath of abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, and how this abrogation of Article 370 is helping in the development of Jammu and Kashmir. This article is also assessing how it is helpful in integrating Jammu Kashmir with the rest of Indian mainstream society. Next article is from page number 11, Indian Express. India poised to sign trade agreement with four-nation EFTA. EFTA stands for European Free Trade Agreement, which is different from European Union. So what is European Union? What is Free Trade Agreement? What is economic market? What is preferential trade agreement? All will be discussed here from the prelims exam point of view. Next article is Filling in the Diet Chart from page number 13, and this article is assessing the findings of National Household Expenditure Survey, and through which this article is trying to understand the change in dietary pattern in rural as well as urban India. Last article we will be discussing is India's 10,000 crore AI mission. So what are the different elements of this AI mission that cabinet has approved recently? And after all these discussions, we will be solving some preliminary and mains related questions. So let's start our discussion. Embark on your UPSC journey with Narayana IAS Academy. Our esteemed 5-year and 3-year integrated programs now open for admissions in Hyderabad, Vijayawada and Nellore. Our courses includes robust R&D backed initiatives such as first, daily news analysis and daily news read, comprehensive review program for a broader understanding of current affairs. Second, NCERT program, a foundational course that covers all NCERT syllabi, crucial for UPSC preparation. Third, mentorship program for personalized guidance and regular test series for systematic learning and assessment. So begin your journey to becoming a leader with Narayana IAS Academy today. So the first article for today's discussion is India's suboptimal use of its labor power. This article is discussing about the labor market in India, pathetic or poor condition of labor market in India, because we are not utilizing our human resources labor market optimally, and because of this suboptimal utilization of our labor market, we are witnessing a lot of macroeconomic repercussions, right? Why this article is important? In GS paper 3, there is a topic Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. So let's understand the importance of this whole topic and this article with the help of some previous year question. UPSC in 2015, they asked about a trade-off between job growth as well as GDP growth. So especially after LPG era or the advent of LPG, we saw there is a growth in GDP, but there's not concomitant growth in employment opportunity in India, right? That is why there was a trade-off, and this was called, right? So they asked this question: the nature of economic growth in India in recent times is often described as jobless growth. Do you agree with this view? Give arguments in favor of your answer, right? What is the context of this article? This article is arguing that majority of our labor force is indulged in low quality work, and which has major or larger macroeconomic growth repercussions. Low quality work, right? When we consider wealth of a person, wealth of a community, we discuss two things. One is assets that they are holding and income that they are generating. This article is arguing that majority of labor force in India, they rely mostly on the income, not on the asset, because they do not hold, or they do not have the wealth in terms of assets such as land or capital. They lack land and capital, right? So that is why they are mostly relying on the income, right? When we consider income, there are two types through which you can earn the income. One is self-employment, another is wage employment or salaried person, right? This wage employment can also be further categorized into informal and formal or unorganized. You can equate with informal with unorganized, but there is a slight difference. Formal and or organized, right? As far as self-employment is concerned, there are three types. One, in which you have your own bank account, right? That means you own the enterprise completely. Second is you are involved into family work. And third is you are creating employment opportunity for others, right? There are three types of self-employment opportunities, and there are two types of wage employment opportunities. This article is arguing that most of our workforce is either involved in this segment, this informal or unorganized sector, or in this form. They have their own bank account, but they are earning very less, or they are contributing very less to our GDP or national income, or they are involved in family work, that too because of certain socio-economic problems or issues or challenges, right? And which is creating certain issues to our macroeconomic policy or challenges against the macroeconomic policies, right? So first, understand the state of labor market, which is hurdled by or which is facing twin problem. What are those twin problem? First, we have discussed that majority of Indians rely solely on the labor for income, not owning significant capital or land, right? This also we have discussed that majority of our population or labor force, that is about 90% of Indian workers, are in informal roles, that they lack job security and they are not productive. They lack productivity. Okay, how job creation is being done, or what is the status of job creation? Let's understand this thing. We understand job creation in India with the help of LFPR, Labor Force Participation Rate, published by NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization, under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, right? This LFPR, what is LFPR, by the way? Let's suppose this is a population. Within this population, there is an age group especially 15 to 59, which is called as working age population. Right? Within this working age population, there are a section of people or there is a subset which are either seeking jobs or they are already involved in jobs, certain jobs, right? Okay, so this is labor force participation. And when we divide this labor force participation by this working age population, it becomes labor force participation rate. That means this labor force participation rate describes how many people or how many people from working age population are willing to involve in the economic activities, right? NSSO data explains that from 52.35% in 2017, this LFPR rate has increased to 58.35%. You need not to memorize the data, exact data in 2021, 2022, but you can see the trend. This LFPR is increasing or has increased with due course of time from 2017 to 2021, right? You can memorize like almost 52% and almost 58%, right? This trend is majorly because of rural women. So they have increased their participation in labor force. That is why they are the major contributor of this increase in the labor force participation rate. This article is also discussing that our unemployment rate has decreased from 2017 to 2021. How? Almost 6.2% unemployment rate was there in 2017, which has decreased to almost 4.2% in 2021-2022, right? And youth unemployment also showing the downward trend. So there is a downward trend in the unemployment rate, especially in the youth unemployment. The data source that we are using is this PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey, which is published by NSSO, and that has replaced the erstwhile NSS employment unemployment. NSS means National Sample Survey, Employment and Unemployment Survey, right? So according to this PLFS survey, this LFPR, labor force participation rate, which is published by NSSO, it shows that labor force participation rate has increased. Also, unemployment rate has decreased. This is in contradiction with the erstwhile trend. How? Earlier we saw that GDP was increasing, but employment opportunity was not increasing. The employment was almost stagnant, and because of which we called it as jobless growth. This syndrome was known as jobless growth. And this trend is antagonistic or giving a contradictory trend or contradictory picture, right? Why this contradictory trend? This article is arguing that composition of employment shows this contradictory trend, that most of our employed workforce are in the less productive sector that we have discussed earlier, right? Significant employment growth has been in self-employment, which is categorized into own account workers, unpaid family workers, and employers, and within which unpaid family workers and own account workers are the biggest chunk of this increase in the labor force participation and decrease in unemployment rate. The growth in unpaid family workers is the most notable increase in self-employment, which is seen in unpaid family works, which grew from 26% to 31.4% of the self-employed category. So within this self-employed category, almost 31.4% is in this involved in this unpaid family work, right? Which is also a kind of disguised unemployment. What is this disguised unemployment? So let's suppose a work is being done by 10 people, right? In 10 days, if we involve 2 more people in this work and still the work is done within 10 days only, so this extra two people will be considered as disguised unemployment or disguised unemployed people, right? So this unpaid family workers are specially form of disguised unemployment. This article is also arguing that there is a dominance of own account workers. The own account workers like small shop owners, street vendors form the largest segment of self-employment, representing almost 35% of employed individuals. There is also decrease in other categories such as the proportion of other employment subcategories, regular wage, salaried employees, casual labor and other employers have declined. So we at one hand we are witnessing there is a increase in labor force participation rate, there is decrease in unemployment rate, but this good sign or this healthy sign of employment in India is because of people are involving more into the less productive or unproductive sectors rather involving into more productive sectors, right? The quality of work is also an area of concern. How the growth in self-employment, especially in precarious categories like unpaid family work, raises concern about the quality and security of employment. It has labor market implications. These trends suggest a shift in the labor market but raises question about the stability and growth potential of these new employment opportunities, highlighting the need for a close examination of job quality and earnings within the Indian labor market. So how this earnings are or how these people are earning in this economy, let's understand this. There is a marginal increase or a very minuscule increase in the earnings recently. How? If we take 2010 as a base year, right? So from 2017-18 to 2021-2022, there is an increase of 10 to 14 rupees in real terms. Real terms means we have used this base year. So we are not using the nominal increase in the earnings of the people. Rather, we are using real increase because we are using the base year of 2010, right? So there is a minuscule increase in the real earning of the people. The basic difference between real earning and nominal earning is the inflation rate. So if we are adjusting the inflation rate from the nominal increase, we'll find the real increase, right? So a very minuscule, almost 4% increase in the real wages of the people that we are witnessing, right? Also, the earnings of different employment type is not uniform. For example, there is a stagnation for salaried and self-employed people. So earnings for salaried and self-employed people has not yet increased significantly, right? But the earnings of casual workers have increased. But there is a problem in the increase in the casual workers' earnings. Why? If we contextualize this increase in the earnings of casual workers, right, this is not significant for their upliftment from the poverty level. They are still below the poverty level. How? Because of two reasons. Seasonality. Also, the base. Base is very small for these people, these casual workers. So if people are earning 100 rupees and they have increased to 110 rupees, there is an increase of 10%, right? But this 10% is not sufficient for them to raise themselves from the poverty level line, right? So that is why if we contextualize the increase in the earnings of casual workers, we see it is also not showing a significant picture or significant increase or improvement in the economic opportunities, right? So self-employed and unpaid family workers, there is a significant employment growth in the self-employed sector that we have already seen, particularly among the unpaid family workers, did not translate into noticeable earnings improvement. Though we have seen the increase in labor force participation, or people are participating in unpaid family workers, but they are not translating into noticeable increase in the earning, and that is disguised unemployment, kind of disguised unemployment. We usually use this disguised unemployment in terms of agriculture or for agriculture, right? Regular workers increase or regular workers earnings, there was no real increase that we have seen. Average earnings for regular wage or salary workers, with the top 20% even seeing a decrease in their real daily earnings, right? The data indicates that while there may be more employment, the quality and remuneration associated with new roles, particularly in self-employment and casual work, remain areas of concern. So it's not just about the base of their income, it's also about the quality of these casual workers or the quality and remuneration associated with these casual workers, right? So there is an economic implication. These earnings trends reflect broader challenges in the labor market, including wage stagnation. So there is a wage stagnation and the persistence of low quality employment impacting overall economic growth and individual well-being. So this increase or less increase in the income or insignificant increase in the income or real income, I would say, plus our workforce is not involved in productive sector, is hurting in reaping the demographic dividend. What is demographic dividend? Demographic dividend is our majority of the population lies within the working age group, and the dependent population has very less share in this population. So dependent population versus working age population is very low. So we have a lot of opportunity to utilize our human resources for significant economic employment or economic development in our society, right? So this is the demographic dividend. But if our majority of workforce, if our majority of labor market is involved in less productive sector, less productive means you have your own account, you are self-employed people, but you have your own account. That means you are a vendor or you are a shopkeeper or you are involved in family activities which is showing disguised unemployment, or you are involved in casual work or informal activities or unorganized sector. So you are involved in less productive sector or less productive part of the economy. And if majority of our population, majority of our workforce is involved in less productive segment or portion of the economy, it will be not helpful in reaping demographic dividend. Rather, it will creating hurdle against the demographic dividend, right? India is currently experiencing its demographic dividend and optimal period with a high working age population ratio, which is expected to peak it in less than 2 decades. So we are about to get, or we are about to reach our peak in terms of demographic dividend within 2 decades, and this demographic dividend or phase of demographic dividend will be last for another 30 to 35 years, and within which, if we are not utilizing our working force population, workforce to a productive segment, this workforce will later on become liability rather than becoming asset for us, right? Over 3/4 of India's employed population are engaged as own account workers, casual laborers, or unpaid family workers that we have seen as disguised unemployment, and these are less productive segment of the economy, right? Despite the demographic advantage, the engagement of a significant portion of the workforce in low quality, low productive job is a concern for sustainable economic growth because they will later become liability for us, right? This article is also arguing one thing. With the decrease in income, there is a high proportion that people are spending their income to their monthly or regular expenditure. How? For example, recently we have seen Anant Ambani's marriage, and most of the people were arguing that they used 0.01% of their wealth on their marriage. But for a middle class family, it's almost 10 to 15% they are spending on their marriages, right? Also, let's suppose you are earning 10 lakh rupees per month and you are spending almost 10,000 per month on your monthly expenditure, for example, fooding or clothing, etc., right? This becomes 1% of your income, okay? But if you earn 1 lakh rupees with almost similar kind of lifestyle, you are also using or you are spending 10,000 rupees per month, it becomes 10% of your income, right? So with decrease in your income, you are or higher proportion of your income will go in your monthly or regular expenditure, because of which this income level or this income is not utilizing in investment for the macro economy, right? Because you will not be having disposable income to which you can spend on your investment part, right? So the lower income groups, which form a large part of this workforce, tend to spend a higher proportion of their earnings. Stagnant wages in these sectors do not bode well for consumer expenditure driven economic growth, right? So this is not also involving in investment. This less income is not also creating enough demand for the economy, which will be later on helpful in creating more job opportunities, right? A consistent decline in the investment to GDP ratio coupled with stagnant earnings among the majority could lead to reduced economic activity and a potential vicious cycle of low growth, right? That we have discussed. The underutilization of labor capital during the demographic dividend period could have long-term repercussions such as India's economic trajectory or on India's economic trajectory, affecting overall welfare and development. To maximize the benefit of demographic dividend, there is a critical need for policy intervention that improve job quality, enhance productivity, and stimulate wage growth in the labor market. Apart from this article, let's go beyond the article, right? Why there is a problem of people involving in less productive segment or part of the economy, plus there is a less growth in gainful opportunity or job opportunity, right? There are major objective factors, several objective factors which are causing these two phenomena for our economy. How? First, the labor demand in the formal non-agriculture sector is determined by two distinct factors. First is aggregate demand, that is C plus G, consumption plus government plus investment, private investment plus X minus M, that is export minus import, right? consumption is stagnant because of less increase or almost no increase in the real wages, right? Government expenditure, there's a limitation in the government expenditure, right? Plus investment, because of this stagnant income, people are not investing and private investment is very low, right? Then what about export minus import? This is the only factor which can increase the aggregate demand right now. But there is a problem. We are import-based countries rather than export-based countries, right? And because of which we are witnessing current account deficit. And this anomaly is also reflecting in our job opportunities, right? The second thing which is determining the employment opportunity is the technology, right? Technology, manufacturing technology, also artificial intelligence. If we discuss about manufacturing technology, we jumped from agriculture to services directly, and this service sector is not labor intensive sector. To deploy this labor into productive segment, we have to develop our manufacturing sector, but we skipped because we jumped from agriculture to services directly. Also, advent of artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence is obliterating the manual works from the economy, right? So that is why we are witnessing less increase in the employment opportunity, right? There are other factors as well. In India, the employment growth rate of the formal and non-agriculture sector remained unresponsive despite a significant rise in the GDP growth rate and the value-added growth rate during the early 2000s as compared to the decade in the 1980s and 1990s. The lack of responsiveness of employment growth rate to change in output growth rate reflects a phenomena of jobless growth that we have seen. It indicates a strong connection between labor productivity growth rate and output growth rate. How? What are the factors? These are the factors. Firstly, the paradigm of development. What paradigm of development that we have chosen is capital intensive. We were following the Western paradigm of development of capital intensive economic development, right? And which is against the labor intensive segment. We were supposed to create job opportunities. We were supposed to deploy or employ our working force in productive, gainful employment opportunity. But we use capital intensive development or economic development. We chose capital intensive development, which is against the labor intensive development and which is not creating enough job opportunity for our population. There's also second problem, the human developmental level. We did not focus on capability of people, right? That is why we are not creating enough workforce which are suitable for gainful employment opportunity. We are import-oriented economy that we have seen, because of which we are not creating enough employment opportunity. Manufacturing and infrastructure bottlenecks. We skip manufacturing. We directly jump from agriculture to service sector. And because of poor infrastructure in India, our manufacturing products were not competitive enough for international markets, and that is why we could not see increase in our exports, right? Also, there is a crony capitalism. We could not create enough entrepreneurs in our country because of this crony capitalism. This crony capitalism is especially because of socialistic compulsion, as argued by economic survey. And because of this socialistic compulsion, we saw crony capitalism, and because of this crony capitalism, we could not develop entrepreneurs in our country, and which is eventually is not helpful for employment opportunity. There's also structural inequalities and injustices. Majority of our population face this structural inequalities and injustices. For example, women were not given due portion or due recognition in our employment opportunity, and that is why we are not witnessing enough employment opportunity. The extent to which labor, the last thing which is very important, especially for your prelims point of view, the extent to which labor productivity growth rate responds to output growth rate is reflected by what is termed as Kaldor-Waldron coefficient, right? So this term or this coefficient can be asked in UPSC prelims examination. It says that labor productivity growth rate versus output growth rate, right? This coefficient, and for India it's very high as compared to other developing country, right? So this Kaldor-Waldron coefficient is very high as compared to other developing countries, and it is distinct form of jobless growth regime in India that makes India's macroeconomic policy challenge qualitatively different from the other countries, right? Next article is gender equality as the plank of sustainable development. This article is discussing about women's role in energy sector, their share in energy sector, and this article is also arguing if we want to ensure sustainable development, we have to increase the share of women in energy sector, right? Apart from this, there's also concept, apart from this article, there's a concept, ecofeminism. This ecofeminism draws a comparison. It takes an analogy, how they take relationship between men and women, and they compare this with relationship between culture and environment. This ecofeminism is arguing that how men are exploiting women, how men are oppressing women and giving subordinate position to women in a similar fashion in which culture is exploiting the environment, right? Also, there is a symbiotic relationship between women and environment. So if you want to ensure women empowerment, you need to improve environment. If you want to improve environment, you need to ensure women empowerment, right? So both are linked with each other, right? Okay, apart from this, why this article is important for us? In GS paper 3, there's a topic, Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. And this article is discussing about gender equality and energy access to women, right? Let's understand the importance of this topic from previous year question point of view. 2019 UPSC asked this question: what are the continued challenges for women in India against time and space? And you can expect question related with women versus energy sector, women versus environment, etc., etc. Right? What is the context? This article is arguing that women have a crucial role in energy access, production and consumption. They face barriers that limit their participation, and it is impacting the energy sector. Not only energy sector, it is also hurting our initiatives towards sustainable development. So let's understand the gender intersection with the energy sector, then we'll see what are the other problems. Firstly, gender equality and sustainable energy development are interconnected, impacting the achievement of various sustainable development goals. How? For example, SDG 5, that is on gender equality itself. SDG 7, which is on clean and affordable energy. SDG 12, that is on climate action. This article is arguing that achievement of all SDGs is in one way or another way are dependent on the gender equality, which is in consonance with the concept ecofeminism that we discussed earlier, right? How gender are intersecting with energy sector? See, women are associated with household activities, and in traditional societies, when you go to rural areas or tribal areas, you will see women go to forest, they collect wood and they come back to their houses, and with the help of that wood they cook their food, right? This whole responsibility is given to women only, right? So if we consider household energy management, this is also traditionally related to women only, right? In many parts of the world, women bear primary responsibility for household energy management, which includes cooking, heating, and lighting. And if we are not using the sustainable, the energy resources which are clean, it will going to impact the health of women as well as the children, right? For example, it forces women to rely on traditional and harmful alternatives. If we are not providing clean and reliable energy sources, it will be, or women will be dependent on biomass and kerosene, and it will disproportionately impacting the health of women. For example, 60% of the people who are affected by household air population pollution are women and children, right? This is not only perpetuates energy poverty but also exposes women and their families to health risks associated with household air pollutions, right? There's also, this article is also arguing, there is also insignificant or poor or skewed share of women in energy sector. How? 32% of the full-time employment is given to women in renewable energy sector. And if we talk about overall energy sector, women are given 22% share. But globally, 40% of women workers are in the global labor force. So in comparison to 48%, 22% is in the energy sector only, right? In India, only 10% of women hold technical posts in the energy sector as per International Energy Agency. This gender disparity is fueled by disparities in educational access, restricted opportunities for women to acquire technical skills and training, and inequitable company policies, among other contributing factors. There's also a philosophical reason behind this kind of anomaly. The thing is, women traditionally were not supposed to be fit for machines or mechanized product. For example, women were not supposed to be fit for armed forces. Women were not supposed to be fit for heavy machines, and that we see especially in Green Revolution era, when women were not supposed to be fit for heavy machines that can be utilized in the Green Revolution, and that discarded women from the labor force when Green Revolution was introduced in India, right? So how we can bridge the gender gap? Firstly, changing the perception. We need to change this perception that women are not fit for heavy machines, right? Second, mainstream genders or mainstreaming the gender in our policies. One example can be gender budgeting, right? So what is gender budgeting? Gender budgeting giving gender perspective or women perspective in budgeting process, right? And if we do this gender budgeting, we can ensure good share of women in health, education, and other skill activities, right? We need to ensure roles of stakeholders, governments, NGOs, international bodies, and philanthropic organizations must collaborate to create environment that empower women in energy sector, right? So this can be good for all the sectors, but this article is arguing about or limiting itself only to the energy sector, right? We need to show, or we need to look for innovative strategies. This can be taken as case study for you in your mains examination. Programs like Women at the Forefront and encourage women's entrepreneurship and participation in sustainable energy solution, right? Distributed renewable energy, utilizing distributed renewable energy can offer quick, affordable energy access, reducing labor intensive tasks for women and boosting their productivity. article is also giving one example of Solar Mamas initiative. This initiative was taken by India. This program exemplifies empowering women through technical training, enabling them to bring renewable energy solution to their communities. This Solar Mama initiatives was taken by Government of India to train women in Tanzania and other parts of African countries, and our government was training women in these communities or in these societies so that they can give renewable energy solution to these societies, right? There's also economic impact. We need to empower women in the energy sector, which is not only ethical but economically beneficial. It will empower them economically, and which will be reflected in other parts. Innovative and productive outcomes. Women's increased participation in the energy sector can lead to innovation, higher productivity, and better social and environmental results. The narrative is evolving from viewing women merely as vulnerable to recognizing them as vital agents of change in the energy landscape. That we have seen that women were supposed, or women were considered as vulnerable for this energy sector or against this energy sector, but we have to involve them as a vital agent of change in the energy landscape, right? Women-led and gender-responsive projects in clean energy have shown success, indicating the potential for broader implementation that we have seen in Solar Mama initiative. So there is a call for action. With the recognition of women's pivotal role in the energy sector, there is a clear mandate to harness their contributions for a sustainable and inclusive future. Next article is Change in the Valley. Article 370 of Indian Constitution, which was drafted by N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar, and it was made a temporary provision in Indian Constitution, right? With the help of this Article 370, the Indian Constitution has given or had given various privileges to the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, right, which included the area of Ladakh as well, through which they could have their own separate constitution, and various they could have restricted the implementation of various central laws in the area of Jammu and Kashmir state, right? But what was happening, because of these provisions, it was believed that because of these provisions, the developmental activities in the Jammu and Kashmir region was restricted, because people from outside area, they could not invest in the region, and the region was full of politics and certain form of extremism that prohibited or created hurdle in developing the region, right? And because of this lack of development, we witnessed a huge separatism and terrorism as well. Basically, the cross-border terrorism promoted by Pakistan as well as China, right? So, major culprit was supposed to be Article 370, and because of which in 2019, with the help of one presidential order, central government abrogated the Article 370 from Indian Constitution, right? After 5 years of this abrogation of Article 370, Prime Minister went to Jammu and Kashmir, and author is assessing the importance of abrogation of Article 370, and not just importance, but also it is showing or showcasing the impact that this abrogation has done to the Jammu and Kashmir as far as integration and development is concerned, right? Why this is important? In GS Mains, GS paper 2, internal security, linkages between development and spread of extremism, GS paper 3, right? And the state of Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh post the abrogation of Article 370, right? Let's understand the importance of this topic. 2016 To what extent is Article 370 of Indian Constitution bearing marginal note temporary provision with respect to the state of Jammu and Kashmir temporary? Discuss the future prospects of this provision in context of Indian polity. What is the context? Jammu and Kashmir has been affected by externally sponsored proxy war for almost 35 years because of Pakistan and China. And the recent Prime Minister Modi's visit highlighted the impact of Article 370's abrogation. To understand Jammu and Kashmir at present, we need to examine political, military, social, economic, and psychological domains. So let's start with the psychological domain. First, when you see this data, you'll see that there is a decline in the infiltration attempt and the successful infiltration in the region of Jammu and Kashmir. And now people are accepting the developmental initiatives of central government or the government in the Jammu and Kashmir right now. And the erstwhile demand of Kashmir Banega Pakistan is now shifting more towards POK Banega Hindustan, because it is also creating inductive effect on the POK region, right? So it's kind of psychological impact that is playing on the people of Jammu and Kashmir as well as the POK. What about social domain? Talking to Kashmiri youth reveals a shift in the mindset with the idea of Azadi and Pakistan receding. It allows benefits like a reservation. So we have given reservation ST status to various communities. We have developed various universities such as University of Ladakh and various initiatives, socio-economic initiatives such as SARAL, Student Accessible Resource and Learning Application, through which we are developing or we are working on social domain. The society is developing, right? Is an application, this SARAL is an application developed by an IT wing of Directorate of School Education, Jammu. It connects students to e-content which is available on various educational portals such as Diksha, e-Pathshala, Swayam and e-Vidyadan and Swayam Prabha. So basically what is happening? We are infusing educational, we are providing health services, we are giving reservation services so that they can uplift their social situation, their economic position, and they can ensure a brighter future in upcoming times. So that is how we are working on social domain, and that is getting reflected in the various outcomes, less in the insurgents activities, less in terrorist activities, and people are moving more towards the integration with India, right? As far as military domain is concerned, India is adopting, or military is adopting, VAM strategy, which is called winning hearts and minds. So they are not only providing this security to the region, they are also indulged in social economic activities. They are helping people there, and through which they are using this strategy, winning hearts and minds, and they are integrating people, right? As far as economic domain is concerned, Jammu and Kashmir government expenditure in 2018-19 was 57% of the total gross state domestic product. They are largely financed by central government, demonstrating an overwhelming dependency on the government and a weak private sector, which was the biggest hurdle in creating or in assimilating or in integrating the people of Jammu and Kashmir. However, the flagship policy of Jammu and Kashmir Industrial Policy 2021 to 30 with respect to investment and industrial growth in the UT has been put into place, and the largest tourist arrival of this is the impact. The largest tourist arrival of almost 2 crore have been witnessed in 2023 comparison with the previous year. So we are witnessing more economic activities, more economic development in the region, right? There are 7 projects worth 594 crore sanctioned for Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, under Swadesh Darshan and Prasad scheme under the Ministry of Tourism, right? So we are infusing capital there as well, and we are witnessing very good outcomes as far as economic domain is concerned, right? The major industrial estates of the valley have been development with the use of MSME or MSE Development Program, MSE CDP scheme of the Ministry of MSME. There's also a program Sfurti scheme for fund and regeneration of traditional industry, through which we are regenerating the traditional industry, specifically the cottage industry, right? J&K Khadi and Village Industry Board is establishing and nurturing an entrepreneurial ecosystem under micro and village industry sector across the UT. So you can see various initiatives have been started, various initiatives have been taken by the government, and these are giving a very fruitful results. As far as political domain is concerned, people are more involving into political activity, but terrorist activity has been reduced significantly, right? Elections are due, and the conduct of elections would address the persisting political uncertainty in future as well. Next article is India poised to sign trade agreement with 4-nation EFTA bloc tomorrow. This EFTA stands for European Free Trade Agreement, right? And this is different from European Union, right? So if we talk about economic relationship between a country with other country or group of countries, right? We discuss 4 major things. One is movement of labor, another movement of capital, goods and services, right? To protect domestic enterprises or the interest of domestic enterprises, also to ensure reliable supply of certain goods and services, countries or nations, they came up with certain trade policies, right? So that they can protect their domestic countries and they can ensure regular supply of certain goods and services in their country, right? These trade policies often seen as barrier for movement of these goods and services, labor and capital, right? And sometimes to reduce this barrier, for example, tariff barrier, these countries came up with certain policies or agreement with other countries or group of countries, right? So there are almost 6 such type of agreements that they make or they sign with other countries. For example, one is PTA, another is FTA, third is CECA, next is CU, CM and EU. Based on preferential access or level of openness, we name these policies, right? For example, preferential trade agreement. This PTA is the preferential trade agreement. When a country is very less open for other countries, right? So openness is very less, but they are giving certain preferential access to their market to other countries. This is called as preferential trade agreement. One example for this preferential trade agreement is Asia Pacific Trade Agreement. And the countries involved in this are Bangladesh, China, India, Laos, Lanka, that is Sri Lanka, and South Korea, right? So these 6 countries came up with one agreement, that is preferential trade agreement known as Asia Pacific Trade Agreement, and they are giving certain preferences to all these other countries, these member countries, so that they can access others' market, right? The next level of openness is free trade agreement. In this free trade agreement regime, the openness is greater than preferential trade agreement. The member countries are giving more preferences to the other member countries, and they are more open than the preferential trade agreement countries, right? For example, this EFTA bloc, this European Free Trade Agreement, is an example of free trade agreement. Next come to CECA, that is Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement. For example, India and Singapore, they have signed the CECA, that is Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, in which they are not only allowing their goods and services, or they are not only giving the preferences to goods and services, but also giving certain more socio-economic factors, considering more socio-economic factors such as education and health. So this CECA is more open than FTA, right? Then comes to CU, that is custom union. When a group of country gives equal weightage or cut. When a group of countries have common external tariff, for example, there are country A, B, C, D, and there are other countries E, F, G, H, right? These countries, if these countries are in custom union agreement, they will give equal external tariff. They will apply equal external tariff to all the goods and services given by or imported by all these countries or other countries, right? So this is custom union. This is more open than CECA. Then comes to common market. When labor, capital, goods and services can move to all the member countries freely without any tariff, without any restrictions, this will be called as common market. And this is more free, more open than custom union. Then comes to economic union. This economic union, or in this economic union policy or agreement, all the member countries will have same economic policy, especially the denomination or the currency. And best example of this EU is European Union, right? Why this article is important for us? Because for prelims and current events of national and international importance and mains examination GS paper 2, there is a topic international organization, right? Let's understand the importance of this whole topic through previous year question. Prelims, they have asked this question: which of the above are among the free trade partners of ASEAN, right? So they can ask such type of questions. What is the context? India and the European Free Trade Association countries are likely to sign a long negotiated bilateral free trade agreement tomorrow. Let's understand about the European Free Trade Association. First of all, it's not part of European Union, right? How it is established? Intergovernmental organization founded in 1960 by Stockholm Convention. So through Stockholm Convention in 1960, it was established. It is alternative trade bloc for European states. It's not part of European Union. The objective was to promote free trade and economic integration between members. Who are the members? Iceland, Liechtenstein, Switzerland and Norway, right? These are the member countries. It's not a custom union like European Union, rather it's a free trade association, right? Its network, extensive networks of FTAs with over 60 countries and territories, including the EU. So this EFTA has FTAs with almost 60 countries, including EU. Its headquarters is in Geneva, and it's the ninth largest trading partner for India. Key exports that they are doing: textile, chemicals, gems, jewelry, machinery, and pharmaceuticals. And what imports we are taking from these countries: machinery, chemicals, precious metals, and medical instruments, right? Next article is filling in the diet chart. There is an economic theory known as Engel's law. There's a theory. It describes the income or the relationship between income of household and the expenditure from the income to certain or particular goods and services. How? So it states that as family income increases, the share or the percentage expenditure on food item will be decreased, right? So we have seen this thing in our previous discussion or previous article as well. So if income is increasing, the share or percentage spent on food items will be decreased, right? So this is Engel's law. Reverse is also true. If a family is witnessing that there is a decrease in the percentage spent on the food item is decreasing, so that family may be increasing its income level, right? Why this is important? GS paper 3, economic development, household consumption expenditure. This article is discussing about the household consumption expenditure survey conducted by NSO, and this article is deriving various analysis from the data given in this household consumption expenditure, right? Let's understand the importance. 2014 UPSC asked this question: which of the following are associated with the planning in India? So these are the options, and you can expect such type of question in future as well. What is the context? Recently released household consumption expenditure survey data for 2022-2023 by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation reveals significant shift in food consumption pattern of Indians or India's household. What are the key findings? Income, this trend is important for prelims as well as for mains. Income growth and expenditure growth. Average monthly per capita expenditure has increased to 3,773 for rural and 6,459 rupees for urban household. This data is not important, but trend is important. Rural expenditure is lesser than the urban expenditure or urban household expenditure, right? Plus, both of them have increased as compared to the previous one, right? What is the implication? This is important for mains analysis. It suggests improvement in the earning potential of rural as well as urban households, more allocation more towards consumer goods, better standard of living. This shows better standard of living. But we have seen in the previous article discussion that there is an anomaly while considering all these data as something indicating that is increasing better standard of living or something in this manner, right? The second thing is decrease in the food expenditure share below 50%, and this is antagonistic to what we have discussed in the previous article. This article or this data is showing that expenditure on food item or the share of expenditure on food item has decreased over a period of time, right? It seems that if we apply Engel's law, it shows that income level of our household has increased, right? It also indicates diversification in spending patterns, allocating more resources towards non-food items, right? There's also significant change in dietary pattern as per this survey or the findings of this survey. The proportionate share of cereals came down from rural and urban in 1990 2002, 4.9 and 3.6% respectively. This data is not important, but you can see that the expenditure on cereals in rural area is greater than the expenditure on cereals in urban area, right? And both of them has decreased over a period of time. Beverages, refreshment and processed food, mainly processed food, occupying the top position in expenditure, right? Third, milk and milk products at 8.3% and 7.2% urban, rural and urban respectively, which means people in rural areas are more using milk products in comparison to people who are in the urban areas. There is also pattern consumption of pulses is the lowest, 2% in rural area and 1.4% in urban area. You can see this change in dietary pattern through this chart. Cereals, rural area are spending more on cereals in comparison to urban areas. As far as beverages are concerned, refreshment are concerned, urban area is spending more. Processed food, urban area is spending more. Milk, rural area is spending more. And pulses, rural area is spending more. And among all these things, pulses have least share and processed food has highest share in the consumption pattern, right? But there are certain area of concerns regarding the survey or the data given by the survey or the analysis as per the article. There is a lack of intra-household allocation data. For example, milk. If a household is spending a particular amount on milk, what share of this expenditure is going to women and children, right? Is there any gender biasness or not? This cannot be understood with the help of this survey or the data given by this survey. There's a limited insights into consumption of salt and sugar through processed food, necessitating comprehensive diet survey, right? Third, rising rate of obesity, diabetes and hypertension creates need for public health interventions. So this shows the dietary pattern, change in the dietary pattern. But what about the rise in obesity and all these issues, specifically known as non-communicable diseases, and which should also be central point of public health intervention, right? So what are the suggestions? First, labeling can promote healthier eating habits. Second, implementing taxes on high fat, sugar and salt foods to discourage unhealthy consumption. Third, government intervention through promotion of healthy alternatives in public eateries and increased allocation for vegetables in food scheme is essential. Lastly, expansion of PDS to include wider variety of nutritious food. Let's look into some of the prelims related factual information as far as household consumption expenditure survey is concerned. It is conducted by National Statistics Office under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The household consumption basket consisted of three major categories: food items, consumables and durable goods. Also, information on household characteristics and demographic features was also asked. Covered a sample of 2,61,746 household. This data is not important, but over 2.5 lakh household they have covered, including both rural and urban areas. About National Statistics Office, it was formed in 2019 by merging the Central Statistics Office and National Sample Survey Office. It works under MOSPI. Last article for today's discussion is India's rupees 10,000 crore AI mission. We have entered into Industrial Revolution 4.0. We are also moving towards Industrial Revolution 5.0. And everybody knows there's a fact that artificial intelligence is the future, right? So we cannot escape from artificial intelligence. We have to develop the artificial intelligence indigenously. We have to develop technology. We have to ensure ecosystem in which artificial intelligence can run as well as can develop within our country, right? So considering its importance, its futuristic importance, its importance to economy, society, political structure, government also came up with one artificial intelligence, and in this article we will be discussing the important elements of this artificial intelligence mission. Why this is important? GS paper 3, economic development, indigenization of technology, AI mission and economic development. How this AI mission is also helpful in economic development. Let's understand the importance. 2020 UPSC asked this question: with the present state of development, AI can effectively do which of the following? So all of the above was correct. What is the context? Cabinet has approved over 10,300 crore for AI India AI mission. This scheme is important. This mission is important for the next 5 years. So as far as a scheme or mission is concerned, we need to understand the ministry associated, if at all it is associated, right? Major beneficiaries, target, that is a target audience, then major objective, phases and elements of the scheme, right? All these things, if you are reading any scheme, you need to take care of all these three things, right? So as far as India AI mission is concerned, we have to see the elements. In this article we have discussed, or our author has discussed, the elements or the phases or objective of artificial intelligence. When we talk about artificial intelligence, there are majorly 5 elements of artificial intelligence. One is hardware. So if you want to develop artificial intelligence, if you want to ensure a good ecosystem of artificial intelligence in the economy or the country, you need to ensure good level of hardware, including integrated chips, semiconductors and GPUs, etc., etc., right? So you have to develop ecosystem in which we can ensure sustained and regular supply of hardware for the artificial intelligence, right? The second element is algorithm, the algorithm on which the artificial intelligence works. For example, this large language model that is also popularly known as ChatGPT or OpenAI, but this is just an example of large language model, right? So this algorithm is also important to develop artificial intelligence, for which we need scientists, collaborations, as well as innovation, right? Third thing is data collection or large amount of data. This artificial intelligence, specifically a part of artificial intelligence that is machine learning, requires a lot of data. So we have to collect a lot of data, structured data, for or to feed artificial intelligence or to feed this algorithm. Next is data warehouse, to which, for example, cloud seeding, to which we can store data, right? So data warehouse is also important. And lastly, the application of artificial intelligence, specifically the marketplace, robust marketplace through which we can sell artificial intelligence, we can use artificial intelligence, right? So all these things have been catered under this artificial intelligence or India AI mission, right? So what is the vision of India AI mission? To bolster India's global leadership in AI, foster technological self-reliance, ensure ethical and responsible AI deployment, and democratize the benefits of AI across the society. So this is the vision of India AI mission. The key initiatives, you can expect key initiatives from the elements that we have discussed. So first is computing infrastructure development, include GPU, semiconductors, ICs, etc. So primarily focusing on advanced GPU like NVIDIA's A100 chip, known for its efficiency in AI application. The second is viability gap funding for data centers. Data centers we have discussed. The government will invite companies to set up data centers. Data centers are important just to store the data, without which we cannot train our artificial intelligence or the algorithms, and because of which this becomes important to provide. And we are also through this scheme, through this mission, we are also providing viability gap funding. What is viability gap funding? So let's suppose a project is going on, but gestation period is very high. For example, you are making a road or you are making a bridge, right? The gestation period is very high. It will become very disincentive for the private sector because you are not getting benefit in the near future, right? For which government is providing viability gap funding. So all the opportunities or the external opportunities that you are losing will be funded with the help of this viability gap funding. Next is support for AI startups. Approximately 2,000 crore will be allocated to finance deep tech startups at various stages of growth, encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship. India AI Innovation Research Center will be developed. A dedicated research center will be established to focus on the development and deployment of large foundational models, including indigenous multimodal models and domain-specific foundational models. These are the models. These are the algorithms on which we will be working. You need not to go into detail of these models, but if you are memorizing the name, just name of these models, it's sufficient for our UPSC examination. Also, India AI data set platforms will be created to host high quality AI ready non-personal data sets, enhancing access and utilization for AI innovation across sectors like healthcare, agriculture, and governance. AI marketplace will be developed to offer AI as a service and pre-trained models, facilitating easier access to AI solution for organization and developers. AI curation units will be developed or will be established in 50 line ministries to facilitate the curation and utilization of AI technologies in various government sectors. So these are the two things which will be helpful in utilizing the artificial intelligence, right? AI regulation, there is a provision of AI regulation as well. The IT ministry issued an advisory mandating AI companies to obtain explicit permission from the government before launching any under-tested or unreliable AI models. The AI models are required to be appropriately labeled to reflect that the output is generated is unreliable, right? What can be the conclusion? Overall, the India AI mission seeks to accelerate development of artificial intelligence in India, fostering innovation, improving service delivery, and promoting economic growth across multiple sectors. There's also one point which is known as dependency theory. And this dependency theory has multiple perspectives, multiple forms of this dependency theory. There is an optimistic way of dependency theory. There is a core dependency theory by Prevision Singer. Various theories, various sub-theories were evolved in this under this dependency theory. What is the essence of dependency theory is there are at international level, there are three types of countries. One is core, another is peripheral, and one is semi-peripheral. So if we talk about developmental level of these countries, the core countries are those countries which are developed or which are proficient at particular technological level, right? Semi-peripheral countries are those countries which has certain amount of technological development. So this is semi-peripheral. And lastly is peripheral countries. What is happening whenever technology is coming into the market, the core countries, they are adopting the technology very fast, right? and they are the most beneficiary of this technology, right? So they are doing research and development, right? And this is the product phase, right? These technologies are developed by the developed countries or the core countries, and which are the major beneficiaries of any technology. Then the manufacturing phase. The semi-peripheral countries are those countries which are good at those technologies but not doing the R&D which is being done by the core countries, but they are the country who are manufacturing the product. For example, this is China or Taiwan. For example, this is USA or United Kingdom, right? And the peripheral countries are those countries who are just purchasing the product, or they are related to the selling of the product, right? For example, India, right? And they are not at all getting benefited by any new technology, right? That is why whenever a technology comes, we have to adopt that technology at the first instance, right? So that we can reach to the core level and we can get the benefit, or we can reap the benefit out of this particular technology, right? So that is why this India AI mission is important. That is why we have to become, that is how we can become global leader in terms of AI if we adopt this technology at very initial level, right? So far we have discussed all the important articles. Now let's do some practice questions. First question is, consider the following statements about European Free Trade Association. Norway is a member of EFTA, that is correct. Unlike the EU, that is European Union, EFTA is not a custom union. This is also correct. Its headquarters is located in Luxembourg. No, it's located in Geneva. So 1 and 2 will be the correct answer. A will be the correct answer. Consider the following statements regarding employment status in India. Formal employment in India is more than 30%. No, it's lesser than 10%. However, stagnant. Yes, it's stagnant. India's non-agricultural sector is characterized by a higher than average Kaldor-Verdun coefficient as compared to other developing countries. This is correct statement. So answer will be second part or B part. Consider the following statements regarding India AI mission. The government has allocated 10,300 crore for the mission, of which rupees 200 crore will be used to finance deep tech startups. That is slightly incorrect statement because it's almost 2,000 crore, right? A platform will be created to host high quality AI ready non-personal data sets, enhancing access and utilization of AI innovation across sectors like healthcare, agriculture, etc. So which of the following above statements are correct? B part will be the correct answer. With reference to household consumption expenditure survey, consider the following statements. The household consumption basket consisted of three major categories: food item, consumable, and durable goods. That is correct. It is conducted by NSO every 2 years. No, this is 5 years. Every 5 years they conduct this, right? So which of the above statement is are correct? Only one, A part. Consider the following statements. National Statistics Office was formed in 2016. No, 2019 by merging CSO and NSSO. Works under Ministry of Consumer Affairs. No, MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It is headed by a Director General who is responsible for conducting large-scale sample survey in diverse fields on an all India basis. That is correct. So how many of the above statements are correct? Only one. A part will be the correct answer. Now come to the mains practice question. Though women have a crucial role in energy access, production and consumption, they face barriers that limit their participation and impact in the energy sector. comment. Also suggest measures to improve the current situation. So, as usual, introduction, body, and conclusion. These are the three parts of our answer, right? In introduction, you can briefly start by introducing this thing or the fact that women are not uh, properly represented in the energy sector, right? So you can start with the introducing this thing and recognizing this fact with giving certain factual information. In the body part, you have to explain the factors which are preventing women to take participation in the energy sector and its various impacts. Since it is asking you to comment on this, so you can also go beyond this argument. You can also give certain arguments which are negating this logic or this statement, right? After that, in the body part itself, you have to give suggestions or the measures to improve women's condition in the energy sector. And in the conclusion, you have to conclude in a positive note that if we increase women's position or women's share in the energy sector, it will not only improve the economic development, also it will ensure the environmental sustainability, right? So introduction, start with introducing role of women in energy access, production and consumption. In body part, comment on the barriers, the factors. For example, there are various factors: lack of access to education and training, access to resources, underrepresentation in decision making, right? Then give the solution. For example, creating enabling policies, gender budgeting, enhancing access to resources, etc., etc. Then in the conclusion, with a positive note, you have to address these barriers and implementing supportive measures. We can unlock the full potential of women in the energy sector, leading to more sustainable, efficient, and inclusive energy solutions, right? So through this, we are concluding our discussion. If you like our initiative, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.